So I came home today and I found this really cinematic looking spot in my house. And one of the things, little joys, I think, since joining Ken's course that I've experienced is being able to look at something and going, okay, where's the potential here? How can I make it cinematic? Another thing that I've enjoyed is looking at shots in YouTube videos or in film. And I just pause the video and ask myself, okay, where are the lights? How did they arrange and create this scene? And how can I recreate it? And it's fascinating to me, especially small independent YouTubers who don't have a big following, how they can create such cinematic masterpieces, oftentimes only with two lights. And that is a skill that I want to develop. My wife is thinking about starting a new business. It's going to be more like product photography or beauty products, or I don't know what kind of products, but some kind of photography. And she wants to get lights. She wants to buy lights. And that really excited me because I'm like, oh my gosh, if my wife buys lights, I'm going to be using those for my videos. 100%. And so, if you don't know, I recently joined a course called Creatopia with Ken Chandra. He's an Indonesian who sadly doesn't speak any Bahasa Indo. Ken, you got to work on your BI. I grew up in Malaysia, so I spoke a very similar language called Bahasa Melayu. And so hypothetically, when I talk to him, in our languages, we can understand each other. When I go to Indonesia, everyone can understand me there, all the locals. They know what I'm saying when I speak in Bahasa Melayu. But because my BM, for short, my mom hates that word because it sounds like bowel movement. But because my BM isn't very good, I am not able to understand the Indonesians when they speak in Bahasa Indo, BI. I don't know if that's the acronym they use there. But Indonesia is actually a huge country in terms of population. They are the fourth largest country in the world after the USA, with over 200 million people. However, I know that other countries like Bangladesh and Ethiopia and some of those countries are growing really quickly with hundreds of millions of people. But I joined this course, Creatopia, and I was not expecting the advice that I got. I thought that I was a good editor, and I put my heart and soul into my edits. And after creating what I thought was a short form masterpiece, I posted my short form video with all these spicy edits, and everyone who watched it thought, wow, this is such a cool, fascinating video. It's just like a movie. And I was swimming and basking and enjoying all of these compliments. And then the group founder, the course leader, whatever you want to call him, Ken, the Indonesian guy, who is the reason I joined this course, he commented and gave me a whole list of things to do. But he didn't just comment because he loves me. No, he commented because of a little game we played last month called the March Games. Now, it appears to me that once a month, Ken will launch a game in his community to see who can be number one or top three. And the top three get a prize, and that prize is a personal video analysis from Ken Chandra. I think that's how I say his name. It's Tjandra. And so I decided, you know what, I want to win this challenge. I want to get a consultation with him, particularly because his course is very expensive. You see, it costs around $70, $77 per month out of my pocket. And right now, I'm in a financially tight place. I got laid off last week, and I had to really talk my wife into joining this course. Now, originally the offer that Ken gave was quite generous. He said, I'll give you 50% off if you buy 1 year. Unfortunately, that 1 year is over $200, around $300, which is far outside of my price range. And when I told my wife about it, she said, no way. And so I decided that I would buy 1 month. I asked her, is 1 month okay? And she said, yeah, sure, I can tolerate 1 month. And so I bought 1 month, and I realized this would probably be the one and only month that I am able to participate in Creatopia. And as I was driving home that day, I was listening to Alex Hermosi. I usually like to listen to someone teaching me something when I'm driving, so there's no downtime. And I was listening to Alex Hermosi saying that he was determined to be the best student any teacher ever had. And a lot of people would tell him, wow, you must have had a wonderful teacher. But he said some of his teachers were garbage. Some of his teachers didn't even know how to teach the class. And so he would have to learn the materials better than the teacher so that he could teach himself. And he said, the quality of your teacher doesn't matter. What it all comes down to is the quality of you, the student. Are you going to do what it takes to become the best student this teacher has ever had? Are you going to give it your 100%? And so I'm listening to Alex say these things on the day that I'm joining this Creatopia school with Ken, and I decided, you know what? I want to give my 100% to become Ken's best student he's ever had. And the constraint is I only have a month or two to do it. I thought maybe I could convince my wife to let me pay a second month of Creatopia, but realistically that wasn't going to happen. It wasn't in our budget. And so I bought the first month of Creatopia and I joined halfway through March. Now, in order to get on this private coaching one-on-one call video review with Ken, you have to be the most active user in a 30-day period. Now, the way they measure how active you are is by how many likes your comments and posts get in the community. So when I joined, there was already a first, second, and third place who had 2 weeks to gain their likes before I got there. And I realized I was at an incredible disadvantage and that it was highly unlikely for me, with only 2 weeks left in March, to get third place on this leaderboard. But I decided in that moment I was going to do everything I could in my power to get on that leaderboard so that I could have this one-on-one consultation with Ken, because I only had 1 month. That's all I had. So I was going to give everything I had, and I wanted to become his #1 student. But to make things more difficult, I didn't want to come across as spammy. I wanted to do it in an honorable way where I was genuinely providing value to the community. I wasn't farming likes, if you know what I mean. And so I would comment on every single person's post, some kind of constructive feedback or some kind of encouragement. I tried as hard as I could not to be spammy. I just wanted to be value driven and give them value. And something really amazing happened. After the first week of joining, which is the 3rd week of March, after 7 days, I got into the top 10. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in the top 10 most active people in the last 30 days. And I realized there might be a chance for me to actually make it into the top 3. And so I continued to put in the reps, I continued to put in the hard work, I continued to comment, I continued to engage with people. I would like their posts and offer constructive criticism and feedback. And before long, to my utter amazement, I think it was roughly, in the late 20s of March, the late March 20th something, I made it into the top 3. Now at first I celebrated, but my celebration was quickly replaced with panic when I realized that my position could easily be lost, because in order for me to get to 3rd place, I had to knock somebody out, which means if I didn't do my due diligence to stay there, this 1 month might have been a big waste of time. Now, nothing is wasted, but in my heart, if I couldn't get this consultation time with Ken, then it was a waste of my $70. And so I told myself I have to do anything I can to keep this position. Now at the time, there was 2 spammers in our group. I'm calling you guys out. John Lindula and Oliver Burke. They were these 2 spammers. And they had the ingenious idea, which was to go to every single post, and they would take their feedback, their response to the person, and they would split it up into 2 or 3 comments. And their strategy was that someone, hopefully, would like all 3 comments. So instead of getting 1 like, they would get 3 likes. And this behavior, from my vantage point, was very underhanded. It was very seedy, and I found it disgusting. So, gonna be blunt. If you're watching this, that's how I feel about your spamming comments on my post and everyone else's posts. This is coming from someone who reads every single post on Creatopia. And as the games got later and later, these guys, John and Oliver, both somehow climbed into the top 3 within 1 week. And I was nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose my position. And on the last 3 days of the March games, it got so wild. Now, I just want to give you an idea here. Previously in that month, I was the most active member in the community. And I would post once every, maybe twice a day, maybe once every 12 hours. I would look and I would see, okay, how many people have posted? And maybe if 14 people had made a post, then I would make a new post because I didn't want to come across as spammy. These guys, okay, they would post 5 posts back to back, just boom, 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 boom. And it was like, the level, the caliber of the content. I'm sorry, John and Oliver. This is my perspective on the March games. The caliber of their content was like, I had a sandwich today. What are your thoughts about food and life? And I'm like, it was so spammy. And a part of me wanted to go down to their level and spam the community so that I could get likes too and keep my position. But I also knew that if I won using their methods, I wouldn't be proud of myself. I would feel I couldn't look myself in the face. And so I wanted to be able to win in a way that I felt was honorable and that offered the community real value. There was one day near the end of the March games, and remember, I'm the most active member. I'm posting about twice a day. There was one day where both of them posted over 17 posts, not comments, posts in one day. They were likes farming like crazy. And at this point, I had first place, and their likes were getting so close to me. And I was like, I need to figure out, how am I going to keep my position? And so I began liking John's posts, and he began liking my posts back. And I think that was one of the only reasons why I kept first place. And I did it without spamming the community with endless posts. So that just goes to show that there are ways to win that aren't aggressively annoying. John and Oliver. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, after completing the March games, by the grace of God, somehow with only 2 weeks being in the community, I came in first place in the last month. And I got a chance to submit one of my videos to Ken. So, as I mentioned earlier, I had a video that was very cinematic, that people loved and was edited really well. I sent it to Ken, and one of the first things he called me out on was that my voice didn't sound like I was talking to a friend. It didn't sound very authentic or natural. It sounded like I was trying too hard. Like I was like, and then the Lord said unto whoever to come up to it. It was like very deep, and I didn't sound organic. I didn't sound like myself. And the idea Ken is teaching in this course is, he says, Jesse, when you want to teach someone, you have to talk to the camera like you're speaking to a friend. And you have to imagine like it's your friend sitting across the table from you. And so I'm really starting to enjoy these conversations with you. I want you to know that. He told me, how about you take a break from short form content? And I was like, what? I joined for the whole purpose I joined was to do short form content. And you're asking me to take a break? He's like, how about you take a break from short form content and you do long form talking heads and you just learn to get comfortable talking to the camera. And I thought that was a stupid, horrible, disgusting idea that would never fly. But earlier that day at work, I was editing a video of basketball player Diana Taurasi. I think that's how you say your name. Now, I don't think I've ever watched a basketball game start to finish. I'm not a fan of basketball, but for some reason I had to edit this video with Diana. And there was a lot of controversy around her playing in the recent Olympic Games. For reasons I won't get into, I don't think it's relevant to this video, but one of the things I realized is that in order for Diana to play at an Olympic level, she probably had to shoot 1 million shots behind the scenes that no one ever saw in order to get that couple hours, few hours, however long a basketball game is, in the spotlight once every 4 years in the Olympic Games. Now, I'm sure she plays other games, but the fact is, the majority of the games she played, no one ever saw. And it was the practice that brought her onto the world stage. And so I'm sitting there looking at Ken's feedback and thinking to myself, this sucks. But I think Ken is right. If I want to have a more authentic voice in my videos, I'm gonna have to make those million shots behind the scenes when no one's looking. And so, with a heavy heart, I grabbed my camera. I went to the room and I set up a little light behind me and my little practical. I don't know if this is called a practical or a key. I think the practical is the one in the back, and then this is like the spotlight. I don't know. I still need to work on my terminology. So I set up in the bedroom and I began talking to the camera. And I realized I am so terrified and self-conscious of what people think of me. I am so horrified of judgment. And it was so intense and so wild and so awful that I cried. I was actually crying on camera. And I think next week I will make the video public for legal reasons. And you can, watch me cry and on camera. It was a very vulnerable experience, and I felt so exposed and naked and unprotected. And I realized, if I want to sound authentic on camera, I'm gonna have to keep pulling in these reps. And so the next day, I found another cinematic looking spot. I went over by the blinds and I shot my second video. And I almost cried, but this time the tears I don't think actually came out. But it just became so emotional. I was like, I feel like I'm counseling myself. I feel like I'm doing therapy on myself. I felt like I was doing heart surgery on myself. Like open heart surgery. And it was very painful. And it's, the fourth time now that I'm doing this. And it feels a lot easier. And I'm really starting to enjoy talking to you. And I'm kind of looking forward to our times together. I know that maybe I won't be able to do this every day because my wife also shares this house with me. And sometimes I won't be able to find a space alone. Or sometimes I'll literally be out from dawn till dusk between work, ministry, family life. And sometimes I have to prioritize my wife. And that's been a really interesting thing for me in this season is, being single, we can do whatever we want, whenever we want. We can stay up as late as we want. And, there are times when we are able to sleep in, we can sleep in as late as we want. And now that I am married, I'm learning that I have to sync up my cadence with my wife. And in a way, she has to sync up with mine. And there are many times where we compromise. And my pastor often tells me when I mention the word compromise, he goes, so no one is happy. No one gets their way. And there's a lot of truth to that. So sometimes I try to let her have her way. And there are times when she makes great efforts to let me have my way. And measuring will be the death of our relationship. If I try to measure, how much she is giving and how much I'm giving and how much we're taking, that is a great way to kill our love. And so I don't want to measure. I just want to love. And she is my priority in this season, even more than these vlogs. And so I want to honor her. I want to honor the gift that God has given me. And it is my desire to create a series for young men to find their wife. And so over the next few weeks, however long, however many episodes God puts on my heart, however many episodes he gives me, I want to create a series called Finding Your Wife. And so I shot episode 1 last week. And after I film this video and do some Creatopia homework, I'm probably going to spend some time tonight editing it, which I'm really happy. Editing is one of the greatest joys in my life. I remember on Saturday night, I was feeling quite sick. I was under the weather. I was such a zombie. I was dragging my feet all around the house. And then that night, immune system still not doing well. I sat down and began to video edit, and this huge smile just plastered across my face. I didn't even know it was there. And my wife was like, "Oh, are you feeling better now?" And I looked at her and was like, "Oh, no, actually, I'm not feeling better. I guess I'm just video editing, and it feels so wonderful." And she was like, "Oh, okay." And so video editing right now is my happy place. And one of the difficult things is finding the time to film content so that I can video edit, and then finding the time to video edit. As of right now, I am juggling a full-time job with ministry and married life and a new home, trying to learn how to manage a new home. And as of next week, that's going to change. I got laid off last week on Thursday, I mentioned in previous videos, so you might be aware. And this week, Thursday, will be my last day of work. So I'm grateful for the time God gave me at that job, and I'm excited for the future. In the meantime, I also want to let you know that I'm grateful for you. I'm very grateful for our chats, and I'm very grateful that you're here to allow me to grow my speaking skills and my communication skills, to help me feel more natural and authentic in front of the camera, helping me be Jesse. And I pray that maybe one day, as you watch these videos, either this one or one in the future, that I, in some small effort, can help you be more you. Because at the end of the day, God only made one you, and you're important. And the world needs what God has given you. And it may not be all 8 billion people, but it might be all 7,999,999,999. Who knows? Thanks for listening. God bless you. Have a great day.